Well, as we enter into April, it's time to look back to what was going on in March. And boy, was a lot going on in March. Weirdly, though, we look back on our most viewed videos and it all started so normally. Anyway, to do a little chat with us today is my co-presenter, Mark O'Connor, who's also only here sometimes. That's why you see him and then you don't, because he's a student at Keele University. Mark, as I said, it all started off, I think the most viewed was actually about motorcycling up at Foxdale, things like Strictly Manx, just normal things. And I don't think anyone saw this coming, did they? And you were at university at the time.
For sure. Obviously, Paul, it started off so normally. And it's things like that, like with the motorcycling up at the Foxdale mines. Small things now in comparison to, obviously, the bigger picture, which is, of course, coronavirus. And it did start off so normally. There's obviously there's so many different things to talk about, but I think the key thing is the fact that just life on the Isle of Man has just changed so much, and it's the uncertainty behind it as well. How long will this go on for?
Well, you made the call. I mean, at university, they were shutting down and they were telling the students to go home, and you made that call knowing that you couldn't get back maybe for some time. And you made it, but I think some people didn't, did they?
Yeah, so... yeah, it was a very, very quick decision from the university. There was lots of speculation because universities in the UK just didn't do it all at once. It was a university by university choice. With Keele, there was a lot, as I said, there was a lot of speculation, and then obviously they made the call to shut the university and end face-to-face teaching. And obviously then, I think it was the following day. Obviously, we heard the announcements that the self-isolation rules were to be enforced, the 14-day rules. I made the decision to come back before those rules were enforced. I still did stay in self-isolation for most of it and indoors, but I thought I made the choice to come back to the Isle of Man, my home, for the foreseeable summer, which is a very hard choice to make when you consider that university terms weren't meant to finish till July. So for a lot of Manx students, and it was raised at yesterday's press conference about Manx university students, and of course a lot of them, like myself, work over the summer. I was due to be hopefully part of the STEP programme, which has also been cancelled. So a lot of Manx students work over the summer to help fund their studies. But of course now, with many work and employment opportunities dwindling, it's very difficult for Manx students to get that financial support and extra financial support that they need. So hopefully we can see, the government bring in some sort of measures to help Manx students in this way.
I mean, you're in the middle year, you've got one more year to go. So it must be terrible for people in their last year not having final exams and having all this sort of worked out on course studies over the years.
It is, yes. So I'm in my second year of studies, as you rightly say. The way most universities, I studied law, and the way most UK universities are assessing students now is I was due to have a normal sit-down exam at the end of this year. Well, that's now moved on to a sort of 24-hour open book online assessment. But it's very difficult for a lot of students who are, potentially should be graduating this year. There'll be no ceremonies for many universities. And it's a very tricky time for many people because it's a lot of uncertainty. And especially when you do a degree like myself with law, most people will go on to do what's called an LPC or a BPTC after their undergraduate degree. And there's a lot of uncertainty around that now at the moment. So it's a very up-in-the-air situation.
Well, you joined me when we first started having these press conferences. At the beginning, we were in just a normal room. We were sitting next to each other. Then things escalated and we were all separated off. And then eventually it went to a virtual press conference. But I mean, being a younger person, what do you think? How's the Isle of Man government dealing with the public? Do you think they're communicating enough? Are they engaging with them with these press conferences?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fair comment to say at the start of this, communication wasn't the best. There was a lot of confusion, especially around what self-isolation means and what people could and couldn't do. I think one of the big things for us as media, as press, is the day we went in and it was said, right, we've got the 2-metre rule, everything has to be separated and apart. And that was a kind of inkling of things to come on the island. I think the communication has got better and clearer. And I think as a whole on the Isle of Man, we as people are starting to settle down with this and come to grips with it. Because for a lot of people, it's very difficult to, adjust their routines every day. And that's very tricky. But I think the government have been quite clear. They've obviously used social media a lot. I think at the start it wasn't too clear, as I've just said, but that's for sure improved. But it's interesting what they're doing now with the one press conference as well, in terms of reducing the risk to obviously everyone who was involved in that room, whether it be the politicians or the journalists.
And before we finish, you've obviously made the decision to be here, but I know you've talked about possibly getting on the boat to go back, and knowing that you then can't come back here afterwards. That must be quite a decision you have to make.
It is, and everyone's in the same boat. I know of other students who are currently in the UK who have had lots of issues in terms of where they are, because the university minister in the UK sent a letter to all students at UK universities now that they have to, if they are going to, they have to stay in their student accommodation for the moment, because they don't view travelling between two homes as an essential journey. So for many students, it's a very difficult time period. Speaking personally on myself, as I say, I made the choice to come back to the Isle of Man, which is, of course, where my family are, my home is, and I can see myself staying here like other Manx students for the foreseeable summer.